Hi guys, Mrs. McDonald here with a review on our pronoun unit. So if you're watching this video, it means you probably need a little bit more review before you take the retest. So you recognize this. This is your dull packet, but it's going to be kind of our anchor for our review. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning with what is a pronoun. And again, pronouns are words that take the place of nouns. Okay, so we've seen a lot of these over the last couple of weeks. Let's talk about rules number 1 and 2. Rule number 1, we don't rely on our ears for what sounds right. Okay, because our ears deceive us. People talk incorrectly all the time. We all do. And second, we use our fingers, not our ears. So here, let's look at question number 1. Elijah's brother left the matter entirely up to her and me. Now, whenever you see two people here or two pronouns here, you cover up one and the and. So let's cover up her and with our fingers. Now let's read it. Elijah's brother left the matter entirely up to me. Well, that sounds pretty good. Then we're going to do the second part and we're going to cover up and me. And now let's read it. Elijah's brother left the matter entirely up to her. Well, those both sound great. So we're going to give that 2 thumbs up. That is a correct sentence. Now let's do the next one together. Okay, so here we have 2 pronouns together. What we're going to do is we're going to cover up the Raymond and then we're going to decide if the rest of the sentence is correct. Me scored most of the touchdowns. Well, that is not correct unless we're a caveman, right? Me scored most of the touchdowns. So when we use the finger trick, we discover this is not correct. Okay, let's do another one. You and I are going to go see the Spider-Man movie. Let's cover up the you and. Now, sometimes we have to change the verb here a little bit. So we would say, I am going to see the Spider-Man movie. That's cool. Then let's cover up the and I. You are going to see the Spider-Man movie. That sounds pretty good. Okay, so that's a review of the finger trick. One more little reminder too is that typically the word I comes at the beginning of the sentence. Typically the word me comes at the end of the sentence. Okay, so if you're ever like, I don't know, usually it's so-and-so and I, and usually at the end it's so-and-so and me. Okay. All right, let's move on to our next concept, which are called intensive reflexive. You do not need to know that name. All you need to know is that there is a rule that we use when we use myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, all the selves, okay? And the rule is that we can only use those if that person has already been talked about in the sentence, okay? So again, we only use those if the person has already been referred to. Okay, so let's look at number 1, myself and the principal. Well, here it's already even marked that it's grammatically incorrect, but we can't use myself and the principal because we haven't referred to me yet. Let's look at number 3, I like to talk about myself. Well, here myself totally works because we've already used I. Okay, see how that works? My friend drove herself to the mall. Well, that works because my friend has already been referred to. Okay, your robot should make itself useful. Itself works because the robot has already been referred to. Give the talkies to myself. That doesn't work, right? Because I have not been talked about yet. Okay, so hopefully that demonstrates the rule. In order to use one of the selves, has the person been talked about yet? Okay, let's move on to our next concept, which is the concept of vague pronouns. Remember, vague means fuzzy and not clear. Okay, so what we need to do is in a vague sentence, you're going to be asked to rewrite the sentence clearly. So here for number 1, when Manya saw Reet, she waved hello. Well, this is vague because we don't know who she is. Is this Manya or is it Reet? So we would need to rewrite the sentence clearly. So something like, when Manya saw Reet, Manya waved hello. Okay, that'd be one way to do it. There's multiple. Okay, number 3 here, let's look at this. As Thor was talking to Iron Man, he started to leave. Well, who is this he? Is this Thor or is it Iron Man? We don't know. That's vague. So we would need to rewrite it. As Thor was talking to Iron Man, Thor started to leave. Okay, or Thor started to leave when Iron Man started the conversation. Okay, all right. Here are some more. Now, again, vague pronouns. Also, we see them sometimes where we don't know exactly who they're referring to. At recess, they're noisy. So that's also a vague pronoun. Who the heck is they? Probably the 5th graders, right? I made that joke in class, but we don't know. Who's they? Okay. In Colorado, you can go skiing. Well, who's you? Right? Are we talking about aliens? Are we talking about zombies? Like who is skiing? Okay, we don't know. All right, so that's vague pronouns, making clear things that are not clear. And you're going to be asked to rewrite them clearly. Okay, here's the big concept that is, in my mind, the trickiest. And this is when we're going to be talking about when pronouns having to agree from the beginning to the end. So they need to match. The number of people at the beginning needs to match the number of people at the end. And remember, I'm teaching you the traditional grammar rules that have existed for a long time. The academic rules saying that they, them, there are referring to multiple people, okay, for traditional academic rules. All right, so here, let's talk about this, okay? Let's talk about Taylor and Ayla called their friend. Now, how many people are we talking about here? 2. We're talking about Taylor and Ayla. Therefore, we're going to use the pronoun their, okay? Because that's what we're talking about, more than one, okay? Superman said he or they would be there. Well, Superman is one person. Is he a person? Superhero? Alien? From another planet? Anyways, Superman said the answer would be he, because it's one person. So we wouldn't choose they, we would choose he. Okay, let's keep going. All students want to impress. Now, this is more than one, so we would use their. Okay. They looks cool in that red sweater. Well, it is implying that looks kind of matches up with one person here, so we would use she. Okay. Ken waited patiently when Barbie was done with her pink convertible. She gave it to, now is Ken more than one person? So if he is, we'd say them. If Ken is just one person, of course, we would say him. Okay. So that's what we mean by agreement. Okay. That the beginning and the end has to match when it comes to number. Okay. All right, that is it for this video. There are not going to be questions on the test when we're talking about there are not going to be questions on the test about, sorry, I just have to check the test really quickly. Not going to be questions on the test about agreement in person, but remember the concept that we did learn about with agreement in person is that we can't just randomly stick someone else in a sentence, okay? So quite often it's you, okay? So for example, agreement in person, and again, this is not tested, but what we talked about is Ken waited patiently. When you were done with your pink convertible, she gave it to him. That would be not agreement in person. All of a sudden, some new person is involved in the sentence. Okay, so you're not tested on that, but it's worth mentioning that's one of the concepts that we learned. Okay, thanks guys for watching. Good luck on the pronoun retest. I know you're going to do great, and make sure you come to me if you have any questions. Okay, thanks guys.